Exclusive. Exclusive.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is that when it was produced, they were so specific about wanting to reproduce the Washington Post's newsroom that they actually took the garbage in the waste baskets from the Post and put them in there. And it was fascinating and really good look at how the reporting that went in. So that was happening, and at the same time, 60 Minutes with Mike Wallace was something brand new. It was weekly investigative reporting on television in an incredibly incredibly entertaining way. And so both things captured me. And I took a journalism class and just absolutely fell in love with it. And I followed my passion. No, I bounced around a little bit in college. I took what I continued working, and let me step back a second. When I graduated from high school, I spent the summer working on political campaigns.
Okay.
This was at a time when the Bay Area was turning from Republican and transforming to Democratic. And largely it hinged on two things: where politicians, people running for elective office, stood on the environment. This was sort of the birthplace of environmentalism in many ways, activism, and the Vietnam War was raging, and where did they stand on the Vietnam War? And Democrats began winning seats, and I worked for a guy who was running for a state Senate seat in San Mateo County that had been Republican since the beginning of time. And I worked for this guy, and he won. And I thought this was a lot of fun. And so I spent, I went to college then, and in about 2 years in, I took a gap year. In those days, we called it dropping out.
Okay.
But I took a gap year to run a city council race from a young Latino man in a time when the white establishment was still in power. We lost. It was a lot of fun, but we did lose because the city wasn't quite ready for him. At that point, then, I went back to school, and that's when I just fell in love with journalism. And I can't even tell you how it happened, except that there were those two key elements: Woodward and Bernstein, and 60 Minutes. And I thought it was fascinating. People told me I was a good writer, and so I turned my attention to that, and the rest of it was fine. I worked for the Spartan Daily, which is a very strong college newspaper in San Jose State, and I became the Metro editor. When I was a reporter, I went to interview the college president, Gail Fullerton, who got so angry at my questions that she kicked me out of her office. We later became friends because we realized the whole thing was silly, but I wrote about it, and that actually helped me get my first job because I went back and I got a suburban newspaper, my hometown newspaper. It doesn't exist anymore, but I used my journalism, one of my journalism instructors as a reference, and he told my boss, my future boss, that I think what you have on your hands is the future Mike Wallace. No, it took me about six.
6, okay.
Because there were two things going. One was that I did switch majors, so it took me a little longer. And secondly, I just had a lot of fun in college. And it was cheap in those days.
Right.
Yes, I actually took an internship with a weekly newspaper, largely because I got a late start in journalism. Most of my colleagues on the Spartan Daily had been thinking of journalism since the time they were in high school, like you, and really had a head start. And so I was a little bit green at the process of writing. That I got hired on paper I had grown up reading as a kid.
That's really cool.
And to be able to be established in the Bay Area when it was really tough in those days to get newspaper jobs for young reporters. Well, the sort of a circuitous kind of way. How would you like to come up and be on the copy desk, which is, wasn't my idea of a great job, but it put me in a good position. And so I did that. And within months, I was over on the foreign national desk, which was a great experience. And then within a year of that, I was on the Metro desk. So that was 1996 that happened. And then in 2000, Hearst sold actually gave away the Examiner and bought San Francisco Chronicle.